Manchester United fans, look at this run of fixtures. City at home. Arsenal away.
Takes it with him. Dorgu's left-footed effort. Oh, it's a screamer! Patrick Dorgu pops up again.
Villa at home.
Into the penalty area. Cunha scores for Manchester United.
Chelsea away.
Back to the byline, balls it back into the area. United in the front. Matheus Cunha.
A year ago, that stretch would have had every red biting their nails. Right now, nobody's scared of United's schedule. They're scared of United. Everyone wants to talk about one thing. Carrick ditched the back three, switched to a 4-2-3-1, mystery solved. That's the easy take. That's the lazy take. And honestly, it barely scratches the surface. This isn't a hot take. This is a case built on facts. Since Michael Carrick walked back into that building, no team in the Premier League has won more points than Manchester United, not City, not Arsenal, nobody. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why and whether it's actually built to last. Here's your anchor number. No side has taken more points than United since Carrick's return. Not United are unbeaten. Not United look better. More points than literally anyone else in the country. Think about that for a second. This is a club that spent 2 years being a punchline, suddenly outscoring City and Arsenal over a stretch of games. That's not vibes, that's results on a table. Look at what everyone else is doing right now. They're talking about City rebuilding around Haaland again. They're talking about Arsenal finally learning how to close out a title race. They're talking about Chelsea's kids growing up in real time. Nobody's talking about United quietly in the background, putting together the best points return in the entire league. That silence is exactly the point. Now here's the part nobody is saying. Everyone's obsessed with the formation. They're talking about the back four. They're talking about Bruno's role. They're talking about the new midfielders. Nobody's talking about why it's actually working underneath all that. So let's go back. Let's talk about how United actually got here, because this story has 3 chapters, and every single one of them left a scar. Chapter 1. The chaos years. For seasons, United got dragged into end-to-end shootouts against teams they should have controlled, while leaning on smash-and-grab counters against the big boys. Exciting for neutrals. Terrifying if you support the club. Lesson 1. You can't build anything lasting on chaos. Chapter 2. The back 3 experiment. Amorim came in preaching control through a 3-4-2-1, promising more protection at the back. Instead, United looked as porous as ever, exposed constantly in behind, players stuck in unnatural roles. Lesson 2. A system only works if your players actually fit it. Chapter 3. The exiled talent. Kobbie Mainoo, one of the most promising midfielders this club has produced in years, frozen out under Amorim. A player who should have been central to the plan, sitting on the fringes instead. Lesson 3. You can have the right pieces and still waste them completely. 3 failures, 3 lessons. Now, here's the part that actually matters. Carrick has answered every single one of them. Remember the chaos? Under Carrick, United's build-up has become longer, calmer, more deliberate. Sequences of 10+ passes have jumped from 9.7 to 12.2 per game. That's not an accident. That's control. Remember the porous back 3. Carrick went back to a 4-2-3-1, and the numbers back it up. 1 more clean sheet in his first 12 games than United managed across Amorim's entire 20 last season. Big chances conceded dropped from 2.2 a game to 1.3. Non-penalty expected goals against dropped from 1.3 to 0.9. That's not luck, that's structure. And remember Mainoo, frozen out and forgotten? He's back, he's central, and his partnership with Casemiro, the same pairing Amorim thought was unworkable, has quietly become one of the most important relationships in this United side. Here's the part nobody is saying about the midfield rebuild. United basically went shopping with a PSG shirt in one hand, trying to build their own version of Vitinha-Fabian, Ruiz, and Joao Neves. And look, it's not quite the real thing yet, call it the budget version, but the pieces are genuinely interesting. Let's go through them one at a time. Kobbie Mainoo. His superpower is carrying the ball, driving forward through pressure with close control. His weakness? He's not a line-splitting passer. If he gets swarmed, United's only backup plan too often becomes lumping it long. Brilliant carrier, one-dimensional on his own. And it's worth mentioning this pre-season, Carrick actually tried Santos and Mason Mount together as a pivot, slowing things right down, using calm control to pin teams inside their own box, while the more gifted attackers did the damage in behind. It's early, but it tells you exactly where his head is at. Andrey Santos. Total opposite profile. 99th percentile among Premier League midfielders for progressive passes completed, but only 19th percentile for progressive carries. He's not trying to dribble past you, he's trying to release the ball early and screen the back line. Alongside Mainoo, that's balance. Alone, he lacks the dynamism Mainoo brings. Youri Tielemans. Never sent off in 279 Premier League appearances, despite picking up 28 yellow cards. That's not luck, that's discipline. Ranked first among midfielders last season for passes that broke 2 lines, second only to Rodri for line-breaking passes made under pressure. His weakness? Mobility against the league's most relentless, high-tempo sides is a real question mark. Here's the underrated part almost nobody's talking about. People wrote Mainoo off as inconsistent, maybe even surplus to requirements under the last regime. But his defensive numbers have improved dramatically. And Carrick isn't just tolerating him, he's actively pushing him to attack the space in behind, turning a carrier into a more complete midfielder. The guy people were ready to sell is quietly becoming one of the more important names in this squad again. So let's stress test this thing properly. Can this United side control the tempo against the league's best? Can they defend with a genuinely high line without getting torched? Can they do it without one single overworked superstar carrying the entire team? On tempo, the data says yes, passes completed in the final third are up from 77.2 per game under Amorim to 90.2 under Carrick. On the high line, the underlying numbers back it up too, with expected goals against dropping sharply. And on the one man carrying everyone question, Tielemans looks like the answer, someone who can share the creative burden that's rested almost entirely on Bruno Fernandes for years. Let's zoom in on one man for a second, Tielemans. At Villa, he set up 40 line-breaking passes to Morgan Rogers last season alone, 14 more than any other teammate managed. Now picture that same connection, except the man on the end of the pass is Benjamin Šeško. If that partnership clicks the way the numbers suggest it could, defenders are in serious trouble. Now, let's be fair. Let's steelman the other side of this argument, because you should never trust a story with no counterpoint. Shot accuracy is up from 45.4% to 54.3%. Conversion rate is up from 10.3% to 13.8%. Sounds incredible, right? Here's the problem. Shooting numbers like that can run hot, and they can run cold just as fast. To believe this is all sustainable, you'd have to believe finishing form never regresses. To believe the defensive turnaround is real, you'd have to actually look at expected goals conceded, the number that doesn't lie based on one lucky week. And here's the thing, when you actually check that steadier number, non-penalty XG against has dropped from 1.3 to 0.9 per game. That's not shooting luck. That's an actual structural improvement. The base case here isn't hope, it's numbers holding up under pressure. There's one final piece of context worth sitting with. Think about Carrick the player. A calm, metronomic midfielder, always picking the safe pass that quietly laid the foundation for everything built on top of it. As a coach, the ideas are more layered now, sure, but the DNA is identical if you want control. It starts in the middle of the pitch. History doesn't guarantee anything, but the pattern is real, and it's sitting right there in front of us. So here's where we land. This isn't one lucky formation tweak. It's a genuine, structural rebuild, fixing the chaos, fixing the defense, fixing the wasted talent, all built from the middle of the pitch outward. 3 problems, 3 answers, all pointing the same direction. Do you actually believe this United side can sustain it against the Cities and Arsenals of this world? Drop your take in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns like this one, you know exactly what to do.